Your movie scares the crap out of me. I've seen it, I think, 3 times now. I saw it once at home, and then I saw it again. I wanted to see it in a theater because I wanted the colors in this really stick out to me, so I wanted to see that, and I also wanted to see it with a crowd. And then I just watched it again a couple days ago. Um, Congratulations on the DGA nomination. That was one of my favorite nominations of the morning. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. This is gonna sound like a joke, but I genuinely am curious. Do you think there is anything scarier than an unsupervised teenage boy?
It's a good question. It's definitely top three. I think like an airplane with like a deranged pilot is pretty scary.
I'm terrified of flying, so that's right up there
Yeah,
on my list.
flying, you definitely do a scary like the plot of Airplane, which I know is meant to be funny, I think is pretty horrific.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no,
Okay.
I'd say, and the idea of having a disease that you don't know if it's real or not. I like Safe, the Todd Haynes film scares the crap
Oh
out of
God.
me. And I
Ugh.
think obviously that applies to this film too, in a sense. But I think boys are up there for sure.
Okay. I have only seen Todd Haynes is one of my favorite filmmakers. I've only seen Safe once because it freaks it freaks the hell out of me, to be honest. And
Yes.
I think unknown things are much, much, it's a cliche now, like the unknown is much scarier than what you can see. So yeah, that's a great parallel to something like this. um oh my gosh, where do I start? Okay. I guess I wanted to know, I want to say calibrating body horror, but I one of the things that I love that the film does is really show how something as simple as picking at your own fingernails can kind of be threaded into this like sort of physical manifestation of something that we could be scared of or something unknown that we're scared of psychologically. I guess I wanted to know in the writing of the script, but then also visually representing that, how hard was that to thread throughout the whole thing?
I think it came easily because I think just trying to think of the things that I would have done when I'm anxious, which would be like picking at cuticles, and that's something that I would do. And the idea of like when you have a little rash and it's like a tiny thing, but you're like, there's something weird, or I think that sometimes the little tiny things
Yeah.
can feel scarier than the big stuff. Even like when you break a bone or something really dramatic happens, that it's a little less like kind of like messing with your head than these little things. And I think that's
Hmm.
kind of it ties into the like the lore around the plague that Jake explains, where it's like it's just some pimples. Everyone gets pimples, but these are
Yeah.
kind of weird ones. Eli's are a little different, and then they starts getting really bad, and that kind of like that sense that he sort of plants the seed that things that you think are not a big deal actually could be a big deal. And I think that
Yeah.
is how like, I'm kind of a hypochondriac, and it's like a lot of diseases do work like that.
Hmm.
Anyone can like go on WebMD, and something like a random rash can be, you know,
Anything.
cancer
Yeah.
can be whatever. And so I think, yeah, that idea of trying to focus on these micro things like the cuticles, like this tiny thing on his ribs you can't see, stuff like that. Um,
Mm.
and things that are really natural when you're at a swimming camp, or like you're just going through puberty, or even not, like having pimples, having whatever. Just the way that when you really hone in on that and you try to get rid of those things, or you can't stop thinking about them,
Hmm.
it can drive you crazy. And so I knew that um, could be, a ripe territory for, I guess, body horror, or just intense kind of visceral filmmaking.
Yeah. It's like a really kind of God, I think it's from, oh God, I'm so sorry, but like I think it's the first episode of Girls where somebody said, I think the doctor says to Lena Dunham, "You can't pay me to be whatever age she is. You can pay me to be 19 again." And I was like, I would take that further. You could not. there's not a sum of money that one could pay me to be this age, like 13, 14, 15. I'm actually surprised there isn't a lot more, there aren't a lot more films out there that deal with um, body horror and pressure of society and self-hatred and self-doubt and all of those horrible things that come with the swirling mess of puberty. So maybe that's why I latched onto it so much. It's just like, oh god, I was an even more awkward 14-year-old. So I'm sure this is hitting a lot deeper for a lot of people that you don't get the chance to speak to. Um, I wanted to ask about the relationship between Daddy Wags and the boys. I like that we don't, I'll say I like that we don't see him very much, but I mean, the scene where he reprimands the boys for making fun of Eli, I mean, that reminded me of the scene in Carrie where Betty Buckley's reprimanding them about Carrie in the shower.
Totally.
Um, I guess I kind of wanted to ask about, I wrote presence slash lack of presence of Daddy Wags. I mean, um, I don't know if I'm asking necessarily what you wanted to comment about letting boys be boys, or I guess going back to unsupervised teenage boys. But I guess how do you kind of resist the urge to put him more in there, especially since I think it's so interesting reading up about how Joel was interested in this project from the very beginning. So I guess lack of parental supervision. I guess tell me about that. I guess about
Yeah, I
parent or
mean,
adult.
yeah, and it's, it was always tempting to put Joel in more because Joel's
Yeah,
such a good actor,
yeah.
obviously. But I guess it just felt like when I was that age and I was at these types of camps and places like this, it felt very unsupervised. Like it felt like we were, it felt like when you were 10 or 11 even, it was very supervised. Like you
Hmm.
couldn't even, go to the bathroom basically. And then
Yeah.
suddenly there's this shift that you hit this new age bracket and it feels like they're just like, okay, you guys go to like that room and do your thing. And then, like we'll come get you to take you to the, like to
Hmm.
the, and it felt that way. And I think it probably was more supervised than I remember it being. But I
Hmm.
think in the spirit of like the whole film wanting to really capture what it's like to be in Ben's experience and to feel like you are also, you are living through being 12 or 13 again. It felt that not having that kind of support system of your parents or of the adult supervision, um, even if maybe he's there more than Ben's seeing, and so we're not seeing it. But I think
Hmm.
that makes it feel more honest to how I remember it feeling. And I mean, I think Carrie's a great example. I love that character, and she's I think similarly, upset about what's going on with the girls in that movie and
Hmm.
is, cares a lot. She's trying. She
Yeah.
probably tries harder than Joel does in this. Like she goes out of her way, but she's still pretty ineffective and out of the loop and really has no idea what she's dealing with those girls.
Yeah.
And so I think that that was an inspiration. I mean, I think of that scene you're talking about, and it's like she's giving this lecture and she thinks she's getting through to them, and there's like on the door someone writes just like Carrie White eat shit or whatever,
Yeah.
like there's that incredible shot of the zooming to the door. Like I think
Yeah.
that to me that's sort of this it reminds me of them rubbing the whiteboard off and there's the dick in the
Yeah.
beginning. It's just like you can never get them to take you seriously or someone's going to turn it into a joke even if like in that scene I think Ben is actually really taking what he's saying to heart when he's lecturing them, but
Hmm.
he also knows that he can't, like he has to kind of laugh when everyone else doesn't because he can't really like show them that he's taking it to heart. So I think that's
Yeah.
like another part of the group dynamics there.
Yeah, that's a whole tricky thing. I mean, in terms of the absence of a parental figure, it's that kind I feel like I could not specifically remember incidents, but I remember that kind of feeling where, maybe something is happening that ratchets up your anxiety, or you feel like somebody should step in and you look around and you realize you're like, all right, we're on our own. We have to figure out this is, I guess, what going into adulthood is like. And the wiping off of the marker board and realizing that maybe maybe there ultimately is no way to get through to uh a collective group of young minds like that, almost like a sort of messed up, not rite of passage, but a sort of just like, I don't know if you can change that, or how does one change it? That's really troubling. um Kyle Martin, well, I love Everett so much that I watched this and like Griffin and Summer almost back to back. The range of that kid is
That's
insane.
great. It
Great
is
movie.
absolutely wild.
Yeah. I actually wondered if maybe Griffin and Ben might actually in some way be friends at some point. I would love to see that film.
I actually think they could.
Yeah. Or maybe even like maybe Griffin and I know Griffin might be a little too controlling for somebody like Eli, but yeah. But Io, I don't say I'm sorry, I keep saying stuff like this, but like the sort of casual nature of him is what I think is the most unsettling thing. Like he's sort of like comfortable in this kind of power, even if he doesn't even know that he has it. Sometimes, obviously, he does. Um, and I guess I wanted to know if there's anything that you talked to him about Jake having any insecurity that he doesn't want to present out to the world. Is that something you talked about with him, or anything that you thought about while writing the script?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely chatted about that
Hmm.
type of thing, and he had like his own ideas about it, where, he has this older brother, and I think that, in his life, he kind of feels like, or at home, I think that he feels like his brother's the cool one,
Hmm.
and he's always trying to sort of find a way to catch up. And there's that nature of having an older sibling. I mean, I had an
Yeah.
older sister, which is different, but you I think it's like this is his opportunity to sort of reinvent himself or be the person who doesn't have the space to necessarily be at home. And
Hmm.
so, yeah, I mean, I think one of the ways that he knows to try to connect to people is kind of making fun of them.
Hmm.
I think there are people like that, and
Yeah. The I think of that as like an adult. Like my friend group is very kind of teasy. I think that's just like a gay man group thing. We like rib each other and make fun of each other. I don't know why when you think about it as like a
yeah,
kid, it's really it stands out. And there's that scene, I think it's early on when he's talking about uh when Ben calls him a vet and he doesn't understand, and he talks about how his dad paid too much and so he had to stay behind. I wonder if that is a moment where he felt insecure talking about his own family. I don't know why I'm just so fascinated with that. Um,
yeah. I imagine that
yeah.
he, yeah, like I feel like that's something that would actually like sting, like,
Hmm.
oh, you just didn't get picked up, you got shoved there another session, like. I think he just has his way of dealing with that type of thing and try to turn everything into a joke.
Hmm. Yeah, when we see the faraway shot of his dad picking him up towards the end, every time that I've seen the movie, and this is maybe me putting something onto it, we don't get a close up of Jake's dad, but for some reason, like Jake's dad's an asshole every time. Every time I see it, I was like, "You're a dick. Come pick up your kid." Um, okay. I wanted to ask about some of the those underwater sequences are rather, dare I say, hypnotic to me. I like how for the majority of the film we don't see anyone's faces. I think um the first time that we can see anyone's face clearly is when they take the picture underwater.
Yeah.
But I like how, especially at the beginning, like the opening shot is this really cool, placid, um serene almost image, and then it's really disrupted by like body parts. It reminded me of like squid, of underwater monsters, how like our legs move kind of funny and we don't know it because we're not looking at them while we're swimming. And I guess I wanted to know, sort of just visually working with the cinematographer, what was important to you about that, because that really stuck out to me in a sort of like otherworldly, almost creepy kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, there was this sort of general feeling about the whole world and the idea of water polo where there's this underwater game that it's hard for you to even be aware of what's going on there, and that's sort
Mm-hmm.
of where where people can play dirty and the refs can't call it, and there's a whole
Yeah.
world happening under the surface. And so obviously that felt like a kind of cool thing to explore visually. And I think we felt like almost having it feel like this huge kind of like battle. We were looking at these paintings
Mm.
and Olympic photography under pools and stuff that are like where you see everything and it's really otherworldly and all these limbs. And I think typically underwater is shot in a way where it's like everything's really shallow focus, and it's sort of like you see a little bit of haze or or whatever, like beam of light, and it's beautiful. And I think we thought to kind of go the opposite way and
Mm.
like fill it with light and have a see everything or as much as possible. Um, and we started doing that and just realized that like what playing water polo looks like is very alien because you're kind of removing bodies from land. It's like a very
Yeah.
unnatural to be in a pool and to be trying to fight and swim and race in a place that makes it really hard to do anything.
Yeah.
And there's something about that I think just like emotionally feels like being this age, like you're against your own faculties and your body, and
Mm.
it's like you can't move very fast and it's awkward, and so I think we just got excited about that. And there's all kinds of things we tested underwater. Like typically, I think it looks super blue. We actually pushed it to make it as not blue as possible
Mm.
for underwater, and that makes you see the skin tones a lot more. And so
Yeah.
you're really feeling like the body's in this kind of surreal floating, almost like outer space. And so all of that, just that kind of like disembodied thing felt very,
Mm.
obviously there's a metaphor about the what happens below the surface, but I think even deeper than that, for me, it's just this feeling that it evokes visually of just like, ooh, you're like there's a sort of other, uncanny valley of like, why
Yeah.
can't they move normally?
Hmm.
But we didn't plan the opening to actually be that shot. It was meant to start once they're in formation.
Hmm.
But we just were like keeping the camera rolling as they jumped into the pool. And like in the first day of the edit, we were just scrubbing through the many hours of underwater footage and just saw that shot where it's like perfect and still, and then one jumps in and another
Hmm.
jumps in, and we started taking sounds of bombs, like war sounds and muffling them underwater. And each one was like boom, boom. And we sort of ended up finding that as it was like day one of the edit.
Oh, I love that. Oh shit. Yeah, I would have to even go back and look at the timing of like one person comes in and another. I don't know. I even thought on one of my rewatches that it was like one person jumps into the water to escape somebody else, and then all of a sudden there's more bodies jumping in. So I don't know. I feel like a lot of us can put a lot of our own experiences to a lot of the those types of sequences. Um I wanted to ask before I let you go about some music choices. I think I just wanted to know if certain music was written into the script or was something that you wanted to find later. Obviously, the feeling so real is very important thematically to the story. But for some reason, Eli listening to Runaway stuck out to me the last time I watched it. I mean, we see him. I don't know if it's also just because that music is something that I listened to a lot when I was younger. I don't know. I was a moody, techno loving teenager. I'm admitting a lot of myself. That's really embarrassing in this interview, but I guess I just wanted to know if any of those choices were written specifically into the script, or if it was something that like maybe you work with like producers, music supervisors with, because I think the music is really very on point.
Yeah, I mean, I worked with awesome music supervisors, but I think that, some of that stuff was just, I just remember the songs I would listen to and certain people I knew would listen to and the
Hmm.
range of music. And, part of why I set it in that time period where I just feel like it was when I was this age and
Hmm.
I know these characters and was like, yeah, I mean, I know that Eli would be listening to this type of techno. And I remember like I had a few friends actually over in that time of my life that were kind of reminded me of Eli in different ways. And I feel like for whatever reason, we would always listen to techno and like a lot of like
Hmm.
Euro techno or like Club Med CDs. Somehow
Yeah.
one of my friends had this Club Med
Okay.
one that had like Freed from Desire
Hmm.
and all this stuff. And yeah, and then the Moby too was sort of mixed into that for whatever reason. I guess that makes sense. It's in a way it's cooler music than the stuff that kind of like what the cool kids would have been listening to, or like everyone's listening to the same kind of like Yin Yang Twin stuff.
Yeah.
Which look, I love that. I'm not trying to say that's not cool, but just the fact that Eli's got this kind of other thing going on, where yeah, I do imagine something like he went to Club Med once with on a family trip and like got the CD, like and
Yeah.
it just felt right to me. And when I would give Kenny some of that music, I'd give him different things to listen to. He would just like clearly was into it.
Hmm.
Um, and I just like give him the real Walkman and be like, go over there and just like enjoy this CD.
Yeah.
And we kind of shoot from all the way across the room and just like just get a real thing of him just having fun. And so it felt, I don't know, just kind of a gut level thing.
Yeah. I feel like I don't know, maybe I think the earphones stuck out to me. I had earphones that were or headphones that were very much like his when I think the first time we see him, and that was like that was me in like 1999 with like listening to Depeche Mode. That was me trying
Yeah.
to get away from everybody else. Um, well, thank you so much for your time. I'm clearly I just can't stop gushing about the movie. I just every time I watch it, I find something else that I appreciate and freaks me out. Like that the scene where they destroy things, this sort of like violent abandon of that scene. There's something so beautiful in the freedom of that, but something that is so terrifying and on point. Like they're in their own little like back alley paradise where they could do whatever they want and feel how they want to feel. Um, and I think that
Yeah.
really captures the spirit of like young confusion and anger and, like I said, freedom. So that, yeah. So sorry, just still gushing. So, um, thank you so much for your time. Obviously, a big fan. Congratulations again, and I guess just have a good rest of your day.
Cool. Well, thank you. This was really
Yeah.
fun.
All right. All right. See you later.
All right. Talk to you later.